So, I think it's about time I got this one out the way. A couple vids back, I yapped about at length what it meant to be him, and during that video, I also gave a brief explanation as to what it meant to have aura, and considering how much that word gets thrown around nowadays, I was thinking, why not go into a little further detail? Aura, as we know it now, is a word that, like I said the last couple times I talked about it, is used to describe a person and character's stage presence, their charisma, confidence, anything that can catch a character or person's attention with just a look. But what does aura mean, like, traditionally? Aura, in the simplest of terms, implies the presence of something, an emotion, a quality, or even a spiritual presence depending on how you want to twist it. An aura of mystery implies that something feels mysterious. An aura of unease implies that something makes you feel uneasy. And an aura of rank implies that you need to hop your ass in the shower and put on some deodorant right now. Surprisingly, the word aura, when used under the connotation of how cool a fictional character or how an actual guy is, doesn't stray too far from the term's original definitions. So, now that we know what aura means in a traditional sense, that leaves only one more question. What the hell is stage presence? More or less, stage presence is an actor's ability to capture someone's all attention or anything else of the sort through things like their body language, charisma, or, I don't know, some other third thing I'm not smart enough to think about at the time of writing this. The name really speaks for itself. But other similar terms include X Factor, je ne sais quoi, sauce, and many, many more. Of course, stage presence is the concept as old as acting itself, and if you really want to get technical, it's the basis for all acting to begin with. You also have screen presence, which is literally the same thing as stage presence, but instead of the actor being on stage, they're on some kind of screen, but the terms are basically the same unless you want to get really pedantic about it. Yada yada, all screen presence is stage presence, but not all stage presence is screen presence. You can get an actor to repeat lines, yeah, but that alone isn't enough to play a character. In order to play one, you need to understand why they would say those lines to begin with, and to do that, you also need an understanding of how they act and how they think. And if you want to get even more technical, you don't really have to know somebody to care about them. Really, you just need something to get attached to. And without stage presence, that's kinda hard to pull off. Not impossible, you can pull off just about anything you want as long as you're a good enough writer or a good enough actor, but you might be setting yourself up for failure without it. Again, that's why people love calling characters they don't like frauds nowadays. When the character doesn't live up to their hype, people are bound to notice, and that's why stage presence, and more broadly, aura, is so important. Sure, you can sell the idea of a character with good enough writing, but when that character shows up, the audience needs a little something to chew on, otherwise they're gonna get bored. Presence, or rather, for the sake of this video, aura, is an integral part of storytelling as a whole, and I'm sure you can all piece together why. So really, the question is, to what extent does aura truly matter? And to that I say that largely depends on what you're going for, because let's be real here, not everyone needs it, and realistically, not everyone's got it. Some people are just sauceless and that's okay. I mean, look, I'm sauceless, you're still here, that's gotta count for something, right? But that's enough about that for now, so how about we just skip to the good part. Alright, roll the tape.
You just be goofy, feeling like I'm Sora.
Now you a has-been, you be out of order.
We ain't got a label, you don't get a quarter.
Now we going platinum, order. Stand up, my money, I'm 3-4. I'm a broke boy, I need more metal. Steel like Caesar, hit the earthquake, little bitch, I need gore.
If I had to quantify it, I would say aura is a whole lot like the MSG of character writing. A little goes a long way in terms of making somebody like a character they know little about and accent the more subtle notes of the characterization. However, once the audience has been around someone long enough, they have a tendency to need to know things to keep them there. And what can I say? Aura can't bring out something that's not there to begin with. The character can look cool, talk cool, walk cool, and that's all well and good, but first and foremost, they have to be an actual character. Yeah, that food you ordered might taste good for the first few bites, and sometimes that's all you need. Like, sometimes you don't want a whole meal, sometimes you just want a little snack to hold you over, and the same goes with storytelling. Not every character is going to be in the story the entire way through, and not every piece of media is going to be a $5 billion log investment. Like, yeah, I think we can all agree that sea salt caramel is awesome, but if you gave me the option of eating a straight up teaspoon of caramel or a straight up teaspoon of sea salt, I'm probably taking the caramel. But before that, we also have to consider the ratio of caramel to salt to sea salt caramel, because after a certain point, it stops being sea salt caramel, becomes caramel flavored sea salt, or it becomes caramel with a singular grain of salt in it. And even then, like, what if I'm not in the mood for sweets? What if I just want like a fucking Baconator? How about that? Like, I'm not a damn monster, I'm not gonna eat an entire double bacon cheeseburger with no fries and a drink, so you gotta consider that too. Related tangents aside, while I cannot understate the importance of aura in storytelling, I do believe that because of its importance, we've forgotten why it exists in the first place. Aura is used to bring the best out of a character that's already great, or it can be used to add intrigue to a character that's just made their debut. For an example of this, let's take a look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The series has been going strong since the late 1980s, due in part to a whole lot of shit, but if I had to chalk it up to something that wasn't Araki storytelling, it's gotta be his art style, hands down. It's definitely evolved since the Phantom Blood days, and you can really tell when Araki stopped bleeding into the Fist of the North Star aesthetic and more into his signature coked out high concept by showing stuff that got him into the Louvre. But in terms of aura, no matter what part of JoJo's you're looking at, just about every character this man has ever designed has it in spades. Save for a few exceptions that are designed to prove the existence of the rule. Listen, when you're making the mother of all aura omelets, you can't fight over every egg. That said, in JoJo's, you don't have to look far for aura, and no one proves that better than the protagonist of Part 3, also known as Stardust Crusaders, Jotaro Kujo, who, even if you haven't read or watched JoJo's before, he may actually look vaguely familiar. Jotaro isn't the first guy to do the whole big burly high school delinquent with a cool hat and a long jacket thing, otherwise known as a bancho, but he's most definitely one of the most popular examples of it, and not to mention, same also goes to archetypal anime and manga punch barrage, you know, where someone gets their ass beat so fast looks like a guy doing it, group multiple arms, just for the sole purpose of folding the person they're fighting like fresh laundry. Though, I guess you could argue that One Piece also has a hand in popularizing it, but that's a topic for another day. Still though, even with just a glance, you can tell that Jotaro Kujo is a serious, menacing ass motherfucker. You got the long jacket, the cap he sometimes pulls down the obscure upper half of his face, his tendency to point directly at you for taking the stand, Star Platinum, a ghostly manifestation of his sheer force of will that, gee, I don't know, is probably gonna be really good at kicking your ass. I mean, come on, the dude looks like he beats PEDs despite canonically being 17, and that goes for him and his stand. All that said, Jotaro exudes aura, and for good reason, considering that Araki himself deliberately based his personality and mannerisms on none other than Clint Eastwood himself, an actor known for his intense but quiet stage presence. Despite his big-bodied ass look like he'd be able to rip you in half just to look, Jotaro is a rather quiet and reserved individual. When he does speak, he cuts straight to the point, expecting his bluntness and actions to do the talking for him, which works to, let's just say, varying levels of success. That aside, while Jotaro is good at fighting, it's not something he actively enjoys doing, and he only does so if he feels provoked in some way due to a strong sense of justice. He doesn't pay at restaurants to give him crappy service. He beat the bakes off Steely Dan for trying to kill his grandpa and trying to use the life of a child against him, and several years later, he prioritized saving his daughter Jolene's life instead of finishing off Poochie believing to set the universe. In fact, it was his strong sense of justice that urged him to stay in jail to make sure he didn't accidentally hurt anybody because of his inability to control his stand, which, mind you, he believed was a malevolent spirit, a demon of some kind possessing him, and like, with a big buff purple ghost of long flowing shampoo commercial hair, an equally long scarf, and the ability to only speak in grunts, violence, interface, horror, and other variations of that phrase over and over again started following me around, I had to be a little concerned for my safety and safety of others too. You could say that Jotaro Kujo is cool because he looks cool and punches things really good and not be entirely wrong, but there's more to it than that. But at the same time, if that was all Jotaro ever did, he'd be a little bland now, wouldn't he? He's not just good at fighting, he's calm, analytical, confident, and above all else, he's just a really solid guy who wants to protect the people he cares about. Mind you, again, he was willing to go on a several-week-long quest to fight a centuries-old vampire to prevent his mother from dying from the manifestation of her own scent, which the vampire in question caused. Oh, also, the vampire is actually using the dead body of Jotaro's great-great-grandfather, Jonathan Joestar, as a puppet after Jonathan decapitated him, forcing the vampire, Dio, to take over his body after he died of immolation after getting snuck during his own wedding. There just ain't no love out there quite like Joestar love, what can I say? Still though, I credit a big part of Jotaro's aura not just to his personality, but also to his powers, which in comparison to other JoJo stands, and especially the more modern ones, I can't even lie, Star Platinum's kinda basic. In short, up until the end of Part 3, Star Platinum just has really good senses, is really strong, and is really fast. Then, after Jotaro fights Dio at the end, he gets the ability to stop time for 10 seconds. Why? Hell if I know, but you have to understand. While he might seem cracked whenever he fights you, imagine how badly Star Platinum would get washed in the hands of someone with less intelligence. The guy realized that Dio would be able to hear his heartbeat, so in order to truly play dead and buy time for Polnareff to sneak him, he had to use his stand to reach into his own body and stop his heart. All I'm saying is, me personally, I just have to take that stop sign to the face because after getting my ass kicked across the entirety of the city of Cairo, I'd be too exhausted to stand, let alone beat the crap out of my vampire grandpa who, by the way, need I remind you, can also stop time. Stopping time in itself is a busted power as is, because I'm sure you all know, you can't punch a guy if he can't move, but you know how Jotaro works around this? He just punches him anyway. Jotaro Kujo ignores one of the fundamental aspects of existence. Why? I'll tell you, he wants to avenge his grandpa, his actual grandpa, and make sure he can come back home to see his mom. He's gonna be damned if some British vampire with scuba diver ghost is gonna stop him, time stop or not. Oh, so you mean to tell me that this vampire is gonna freeze time and drop a steamroller on me? Or it's a good thing I can move and stop time because I'm gonna punch that steamroller. Oh, so now he's gonna punch a steamroller too. Oh well, I'm in this seat, might as well punch that thing harder. Oh, so I'm about to get crushed? Actually, right before I got crushed, I froze time right as his time stop ended, slipped out from the side, appeared directly behind him, and now I'm gonna kick his ass. For all intents and purposes, it is complete and total bullshit. And I love every single second of it. Or, while it isn't a substitute for proper characterization and decent writing, it can be used to help both, and if used correctly, it can definitely help someone overlook a character or an entire story's flaws. I often compare anime and manga, particularly shonen battle anime, to pro wrestling because, number one, I spend an ungodly amount of time obsessing over both those things and I gotta find a way to yap about them in these videos somehow, but more importantly, I feel that they fill similar niches in terms of storytelling. Let me explain. Despite historically being seen as less refined and complex mediums of storytelling until the more recent years, both of them put great emphasis on the emotions they draw from the audience. On paper, the characters and storylines present may seem zany and nonsensical, but that doesn't matter because the characters, or the acting, or the emotional stakes, or whatever else is so compelling. Yeah, it might be complete bullshit, but does the core audience even care? People come for the fight choreography, the flashy named special moves, the wacky characters with catchphrases and wacky outfits and insane physiques, but ultimately, they all stayed because they're emotionally invested in the story, for better and for worse. I know that on this channel, all things eventually loop back around to Jujutsu Kaisen, but let me tell you, the same way seeing Kofi Kingston get folded by Brock Lesnar, right after he went through all that to get his hands on the title had me fucked up. I was absolutely creased when Gojo got cut in half between chapters, but you know what? I didn't let that stop me from coming back next week to see how the boys Shinjuku bring it back. Why? Because despite all of its flaws, I still care deeply about Jujutsu Kaisen because I care deeply about its characters, and I want to see Yuji have at least one good thing happen to him before he eventually bites it. But why do I care about Yuji? He's a compelling character and I like him that shown the anime protagonist doesn't have a fundamental part of the world's power system. But more importantly, why do I care about the SFIII fighting show so much to begin with? For that, I'm gonna have to take it back to the year 2020. It's October. My freshman year of high school was basically over because people vastly underestimate how long the pandemic was going to be, and because of that, Zoom meetings are optional and your girl basically get nothing 6 months straight and so got all A's. Anyway, the extra free time gave you the opportunity to spend an inordinate amount of time watching YouTube, and eventually, one of my favorite YouTubers took me on game. Shout out to Black Macedonte. If it wasn't for that guy, I wouldn't have a hyperfixation yet about, so I gotta pay my respects. Because if it weren't for him, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably still be yapping about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in My Hero Academia in the year of our Lord 2024, which, like, isn't a bad thing, but let's be real here. That Steel Ball Run adaptation isn't gonna be happening until I'm about 30, and My Hero is basically over now. That said, at the time, Jujutsu Kaisen's anime was just coming out, and I'm pretty sure at the time that video came out, the Goodwill Exchange arc episodes hadn't even been out yet. So really, all I had to go on was the opening arc where Yuji took a yacht out of Sukuna's finger and shit hit the fan fast, you could say domain expansion. Or more specifically, I think the latest episode I'd watched up until that point was like when Nobara, Yuji, and Megumi went to that jail to fight that special grade, or was it a juvenile detention center? I don't know. I repressed most of everything that happened during my freshman year of high school, and unfortunately, that included everything before the introduction of my glorious King Aritoto. But while the concept of someone having one of the most powerful and unimaginably evil people that's sitting share a body with them isn't exactly the newest concept, like Bleach and Naruto did away with for Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's pretty clear that it takes heavy inspiration from both series. At the same time, it still felt incredibly unique, and I say that's largely due in part to Gege Akutami's unique art style, and at the time, the intrigue of not knowing why Gojo was so unbelievably busted drove me to pick up the manga, and goddamn. My brain chemistry was permanently altered, and while I'd love to say that's because of how well Gege planned out the earlier arcs, I can't lie to you, my idiot 15-year-old brain was nowhere near smart enough to comprehend all that. Really, I just want to know why this guy who looks like Hikachi Hatake, if he took both of Obito's eyes, was so strong, and by the time I got an answer, I wasn't there just because he had aura. I was there because I thought he was a genuinely interesting character, and sure, much to my chagrin, they tossed him into a box for a few years straight, but hey, you can't win them all. But even if his death was a little unceremonious, I can at least take comfort in the fact knowing that he was still way cooler than the guy we was fighting, which is something I can't say for like the entire genre of those schlocky power fantasy and wish fulfillment anime isekai protagonists. Sure, they exist for a reason and they fill a huge niche, hence why the animation budgets tend to be so high so they can pour all that money into making them look as cool as possible. Like I said earlier, I cannot stress this point enough. No amount of aura is going to make me like you if there's nothing in particular to like at all. If a character has aura and I like them, that's great, I'll glaze them even harder. If a character has aura and I don't like them, maybe I'll have a little respect for them and I'll have some solid feats to back them up. But if I feel absolutely nothing for a character, aura might keep you around to see what happens, but if nothing does, that'll only work for so long. Eventually, I'll get bored and go read or watch something else. Just like how complexity doesn't equal quality, flashiness doesn't equate memorability. Something might look cool in the moment, but with nothing of value to associate that coolness with, what's the point? Not everyone with aura is him, but if you're gonna be him, you at least need some aura. You don't need a whole lot because, well, if a character's written well enough, they probably have some aura to begin with. Like I said back at the beginning, one of aura's primary traditional meanings is the inherent emotions and qualities a person or place exudes, and with good enough routing, a character's aura can be displayed through simple things like how they talk, walk, act, and treat others. But to break things down even further, let's take a look at it like this. In order to be him, you have to captivate people, keeping them there because they enjoy your presence, look up to you, or anything else of the sort, while having aura draws people in so you can keep them there to begin with. To have aura is to have pull, but to be him is to be able to hold on to people, and that is what it means to have aura, meaning that's all we got for this video. I like yapping about things I think are funny, but there's only so much I can drag this topic out without steady running circles, what can I say? So if you enjoyed what you saw, drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for coming, thank you for staying, and thank you for watching the show. And now that that's said, I can go check my analytics and start working on my next oh my god! Okay, yeah, I'd be doing a disservice to need 200 people who actually showed up for the last one if I didn't talk about this. I mean, come on, compared to my usual stuff, the escapism vid pulled nearly tripled my usual rate, so I only said it a few seconds back, but again, I can't thank you guys enough for showing up like you guys did. I'm not too good at this kind of stuff on short notice, so there really isn't much I can say here, but truly, it does mean a lot. Genuinely, I was halfway considering deleting the entire vid about 3 quarters away to editing it, but hey, if you guys liked it that much, I have to be doing something right, yeah? So, it should go without saying, but I got some big moves lined up in the future. What exactly those are, I'll keep secret for now because a girl's gotta keep interest somehow. So, all I'll say is, I have plans that I cannot share with you right now because the haters will sabotage me. I have plans that I will not share with you right now because the haters will stop me. But I've got some stuff in the works. Anyway, yeah, for all this time, thank you for coming, thank you for staying, and thanks for watching the show. Take care of yourself. Peace.